All right.
I have.
We should be recording now. So our first question is, what does it mean to you to be the first openly trans elected official in the state of Illinois?
Well, it really means to me visibility and participation, legitimacy. It means it means franchise for training more visible. It means that they can feel like they're, and includes them by me being more visible. It means people who are of cisgender can see a transgender person in community in the position of a community leader. And I think that's a remarkable thing. I hearken back to my youth after the Civil Rights Acts were passed in Congress, 64, 65, and all of a sudden we started seeing, equality didn't start overnight in 1965. It's still a struggle, but we started to see people of color represented in television, in the newspapers. The professions began to open up to them, and so that's how I see it. I see this as being, a huge step forward. I'm blazing this, sort of chopping through this tiny little path in the woods, and hoping that people behind me are like chopping down the bushes that I missed, and we just keep on going forward. But so visibility is what it really means, and participation.
Yeah, awesome. Jill, can you tell us a little bit about the position that you're going to be appointed to, and what roles or what kind of influence you think your position as judge can have?
Sure. Well, I will be a circuit court judge, and there are two different kinds of judges in Cook County. There are circuit court judges, and there are associate judges. Associate judges are hired by the circuit court judges. And that's the main difference. Circuit court judges are elected. Circuit court judges, as a circuit court judge, I'm in a position now to vote on who becomes an associate judge. So that's, and in fact, one of the other judges that I ran with this year, Mary Kay Marubio, was an associate judge. She ran for circuit. She's out as a lesbian. And, that was one of her intentions was, well, now we can vote on who gets in. We can vote on how to expand it. There's, maybe 4%, 5% LGBT judges in Cook County. It should be more than that. And it should be more women. There should be more people of color. It should be more Asian people as well. We have our first Arab American judge sitting in Cook County this year. So we're becoming more and more diverse. And so that's one of the things that will be available to me. If I can continue, since I've been on this path, since I've been visible out in the spotlight, groups have been coming up to me. TFLAG has come up to me and asked me to talk to their members. I've done a class at John Marshall Law School, where I went to law school, about name changes and gender markers and things like that. I did a couple of coming out videos for this year. Last year, I spoke at one of the biggest law firms in the city, Henshaw Culbertson, on Transgender Remembrance Day, which I hope to do again this year. I don't think the numbers are any better this year, but I hope to do it again. So that's what it's the visibility. It's being out there, letting people know that there's a new judge in town.
Wonderful. All right. Why did you choose to go into law?
Well, I think I always wanted to be in a position where I could fight for people who didn't have the same privileges that I had. When I was a kid, like I said, I grew up during the civil rights era. I grew up in the late 60s, and I saw the coming of age and the excuse me one second. I saw I saw the swelling of consciousness. And I remember in particular being with my father, who was fairly liberal, a progressive man. And I remember saying to him, you know, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a lawyer because I want to fight for these people who don't have the same rights that we do. And I want to fight for people getting oppressed by all these rich groups and all these other groups of privilege. Maybe not quite that sophisticated, but that's what I expressed to him. And he said to me, you're going to go broke if you do that. But I did it anyway. And I went into law because I wanted people to have a voice. I wanted to be that voice. That's pretty much what I did. When I got out of law school, I started, my first practice was downstate in Illinois, and I worked with people who had, just ordinary, people problems, divorce and bankruptcy and, minor scrapes with the law and bigger scrapes with the law, problems with elderly, whether helping people who are, starting to, in their declining years, into guardianships and stuff like that. And that's what I did, and that's what my practice has been, working with people, and that's what's given me the biggest reward. I got pretty much what I wanted out of the practice of law, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it as a judge.
Wonderful.
Who were your role models and why?
Oh, well, my parents. Like I said, my dad worked like crazy, faithful to his family. Every penny he made went into the house. Everything he did went into the house, went into the family. He never bought a car brand new. He never had a charge card. He's a very responsible, very, very good father. My mom, just a person absolutely full of love, full of belief in her kids. My sister, who is probably the bravest person, let alone the bravest woman that I know. Worked with troubled kids all her life in New Jersey public schools. Those are the real people that were my heroes. I also really liked the Marvel comic book hero Daredevil, who was a lawyer and who was blind, and who apparently had these superpowers, even though he was blind. And I felt I identified with him because he had this burden, and he overcame it to do great things. So those are the kind of people that I always look to for guidance in my life.
Phyllis.
Oh, Phyllis Fry. I don't know if any of you know Phyllis Fry. Phyllis Fry was the first transgender judge in the country. Phyllis Fry practiced in Houston, Texas, in Harris County, Texas, and came out transgender in the 70s in Texas. Can you imagine the courage? I mean, she was always out. She was always like, one of the things she said to me was, I let people know that I was transgender. I would have a conversation with somebody and I would say, well, when I won the Eagle Scout Award in the Boy Scouts, so people knew what, but she was out, she was visible, she was always there. And she was appointed by Anise Parker, who was a lesbian judge. And she was first, and she was a trailblazer, and she inspired me to go into being a judge, because when I met her, there were only 2 openly transgender judges in the country. And she said, Jill, you got to be the third. I took her words.
Wasn't she appointed by the mayor?
Wonderful. What do you think the future will look like for trans people and LGBT people in general?
I got to be optimistic. I think the future looks good. I think that, again, I think we're becoming more visible. I think that the recent Supreme Court decision in Bostock gives us employment rights, which are really important. Employment rights are the key to having a house, having an apartment, paying your bills on time, being able to go to school, being able to function in society, being able to be a responsible member in society. So I think Bostock was really wonderful for us. And also Bostock sets the stage. I hope someday we knock down the Title IX prohibitions against trans people in sports. I think we've got a little ways to go on that. But it sets the stage for getting our status back in the military. It sets the stage for healthcare rights and all those things. I think that, I don't want to get too political. We had an administration that in its 3.5 years so far of governing has taken 60 actions, 60 administrative actions plus against LGBTQ people, from the military ban to insurance bans to bans against preferences or bans against being able to compete as independent contractors for government contracts. I think that we've reached a saturation point. We should be getting close to a saturation point of horrid things we're doing to discriminate against LGBTQ people. So I hope that with a new government on the horizon, I hope that things are going to get better for us. If they don't get better for us, then we just keep fighting. That's all.
If someone is fearful of coming out, what would you say to them?
Go back in the house and have a cup of tea. Call somebody that you know loves you, and talk to them. Tell yourself that you're enough. Tell yourself that you deserve success. Tell yourself that you deserve love. Tell yourself that you can't control how people are going to react to you, and that's their right to do it. You can only control how you conduct yourself. When I first came out, I always said, and maybe this sounds a little old-fashioned, but I said, look, I'm going to conduct myself like a lady. And if someone doesn't choose to treat me like a lady, well, they must have bad manners, and I regret that for them. I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe take the ego out of it a little bit, but at the same time, be proud and give yourself a little bit of love.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jill, for your time. You've been a real inspiration and a spirit to us all. Just go make it happen. Shake it up.
I'm going to do that. Thanks a lot for calling me, and thanks for letting me participate and spread the word.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Neat.
Awesome.